installed MySQL Cluster I have installed MySQL Cluster 8018 on my Macintosh. Now it's time to use the auto installer or MySQL Cluster Configurator MCC in order to start up a small cluster just to try things out. So the first thing I need to do is to start the MySQL Cluster Configurator. I do that from the terminal window. So I need to find the location of the binary. So I go to user/local, and here I have a number of MySQL cluster installations. I'll choose the 8018 one, and in the bin directory there I have the script that I use. The script is called ndb setup. And it's a Python script that starts up a web server, and this web server is then contacted by the web client, which is your interface. So let's start up the MySQL Cluster Configurator. It will automatically kick off in a web window. I'll choose a new configuration here, for example test 4. So I come to the first page. I'm going to do a test with everything locally. So 127.0.0.1 is the place where I want to start from. It's a simple testing, medium writes. I don't need any SSH properties because it's a local machine. I don't need to install MySQL Cluster, already done that. I don't need to open ports in the firewall. I don't need to use any internal IP address. That's for cloud operation. I will talk about later. Now we'll go to next. So it will automatically check what kind of machine I have in order to set the installation properly. And so the first step here is I can edit the selected host. I can show extended info, but there's really not anything I need to change at this point in time. So I'll just move to the next. Here I have the suggested setup, which is 3 API nodes, 2 MySQL servers, 2 data nodes. Since I'm running on a local host, and since MySQL servers are a bit skimpy about having 2 MySQL servers on the same, I will show that in the next slide. So I will delete one of the MySQL servers and just show a setup with 1 MySQL server. And then I move on to the next. Here I have the opportunity to change configurations. So for example, here I have the management server, nothing I need to change here. I have the data node set up. I have more information that I can change. The SQL layer, I can change things here as well. And here I have a MySQL server running already on a Macintosh, so I just need to change the MySQL server port. Set that to 16. And now I'm done. So I go to the next place. And so I don't need to install cluster. So the first step I do here is just to deploy the cluster, which means write the configuration files in its proper places. So I do that. I had some old data directories there already, so I just remove those and create a completely new environment, initializing the MySQL server. The cluster deployment is done. And now it's time to start the cluster. And it starts by starting the management server. It starts the data nodes. That takes about 30 seconds. Most of that time is spent on creating the redo log file system. the more redo logs you have, the longer it takes. So for a small system like this, it takes about 30 seconds. Now it starts the MySQL server and the cluster is started. We're up and running. And as you can see, all the green nodes here are started. The API nodes are not started because that's something that you can start special programs on if you like. So we're up and running, and if you want now you can view commands that was used in order to start. So here you can see exactly the commands that was used in order to start the cluster. And there is some cluster tools, so you can, but none of it is very helpful here, except possibly get log files. But in essence, since you're running on your local host, you can just go to a terminal window. You can go into MySQL Cluster directory, where you see those 4 directories. 1 and 2 is the data nodes, 49 is the management server, and 54 is the MySQL server. So for example, if you want to see the log file of the MySQL server, you can see it here, MySQL d.54.r. So, and if you want to look at the log files of data node 1, for example, you can just look at it here. And as you can see, there is some information already here. Okay, we're done.